I'd like to welcome Dr. Aron Bhan, who is a classmate of mine, actually, and he's joining me from Ontario also. And Aaron's here to talk to us about a really interesting model of practice that he's developed. He's an owner of 7 practices in Ontario, and we're really excited to have him here. So, hey, Aaron, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me. It's awesome to get a chance to chat with you about this a little bit.
Yeah, it's great to catch up too. So one of the things I wanted to, I usually open with, if you want to just tell us a bit about yourself and, how you got to where you are. How'd you get to be, owning 7 practices and killing it at life, like with 3 little kids and 2 kids and one on the way?
We were just offline before talking about, I don't know, killing it at life. Like my son is screaming and sometimes I feel like a failure. So I'm a small animal veterinarian. Actually started out wanting to be exclusively large, and just through school decided to specialize more in small. And currently a father of 2 young boys, 2.5 and 10 months old, and expecting a little daughter in January. So definitely in the heart of the parenthood and understanding the challenges that go with that. Grew up on a farm and in Niagara region, and fortunate to kind of be centralized there right now. And my wife, we met in vet school. She's also a veterinarian, definitely my smarter half. And we kind of partnered together with this. Initially, I started out with a practice where I was out of high school, mopping the floors, and eventually took over that practice. And then we just kind of branched out from there. I think it was how we got to second practice was working with your spouse all day. Sometimes you need a little bit of space, and so we decided to branch off that way. And then we had some interesting opportunities where there were some practices that were maybe not doing as well as they could have been. They're single vet practices. Owners were looking to transition out, but not really a desirable sort of spot for bigger corporations, and there's really no associate there. And so we decided to take on some of those practices that were, to be completely honest, underperforming a little bit, and grow them with the sort of idea to have a model where we'd have a platform for the associates that were working in those practices to develop an ownership stake, a significant one in many of the practices, so that they could grow those practices as well, with having the benefit of having a partner that's very active, that understands the business, that understands some of the challenges that we have as parents or veterinarians that are looking for a little more of that balance in life, and just creating that sort of platform for that. And I guess that's a dream, really, to have practices that thrive and grow with owner operators that are there, that kind of partner with us, and have some of the benefits of not having to make the mistakes that everyone makes, and I've made a lot of times, but you don't have to do it all yourself. So I think that's kind of the idea and the main philosophy in a nutshell.
Oh, that's really cool. And so, Aron, can you talk to us a little bit about the practices that you have, and so you talked a little bit about how you ended up owning them and what your model is. Can you talk to us about the medicine that you would practice at them and some of the diagnostics you might have? Or
Sure. Yeah, I mean, all practices are really, it's a kind of cliche, I think, to say, we practice high quality medicine, and but I think that is, the standard. We want to practice really the best medicine and offer, sort of gold standard service. But I think the thing about the practices is, they're each unique in themselves. And what makes that practice unique is a lot the veterinarian that's there, and especially our principal partners at some of the other practices. We collaborate as a group of veterinarians, which is nice. So even though it might be a single practice or a 2-doctor practice or 1.5 doctor practice, we get together as a group. A little more challenging during COVID. I can't tell you how many Zoom meetings we've done, but we get together on things like protocols and best practices. So there's a nice rapport between the veterinarians within our practice group, which I think right now numbers at 13 or 14. I'm probably missing somebody, but we talk a lot about protocols, and we have those sorts of ideas of best practices. But within each individual practice, the medicine and I guess the style of practice is very much dependent on the veterinarian that's there. Some veterinarians are a lot more surgically oriented. Others are, more oriented in exotics at one practice, and other practices are more, into behavior as well as normal medicine. So I think the type of medicine we practice depends on the individual, and what we want to do is really foster that unique individuality of those practices, which is, I think, the nice thing of what we're trying to get. I mean, ultimately, what we're trying to achieve with these practices is have stability by having a group. And sorry, you know, we've got this beautiful sunset here right now.
I know, it's nice. I was like, it's like, wow, it's just so nice where you are.
Yeah, it's actually just a field, but it's nice right now. But I guess, you know, having the stability of having a large team, even if you are, you know, owning a practice on your own, being able to collaborate with you know partners that are in the group that all share the same sort of philosophy, and still having that unique individual aspect, but also having some of the agility to adapt quickly, roll out things in models, because we have more centralized, you know, human resource components and programs and things like wellness plans, which play a big role in our practice. I think the things that are kind of consistent among our practices, we do a lot of membership plans. So we really want to have a low barrier to entry for our clients, and have a lot of opportunities for them to be able to afford to do all the things they want to, while giving them some great options with doing that. So, you know, wellness plans being a big part, and tiered aspects of wellness plans, which really help a lot of people, especially in this time. Like, we've seen our wellness plan sales skyrocket, so people can still do everything they want to do from a preventative healthcare perspective. But, you know, spread that over the year. So that's been really good and adds a lot of stability to the practice. But, you know, how they might do things at Brand Animal Clinic versus Dixie Road Pet Clinic, which is a position we have open currently, which is in Brampton, Ontario. It's very different. And we want to foster that individuality.
I like that. And so it sounds like, so I just listened to a presentation recently from a vet in the UK who had just did a research project on barriers to practice ownership, and basically exactly everything that you touched upon would be solutions for all of that. So some of the things were like, I don't know if I can handle it all on my own. I'm not sure if I can handle it with all of my family responsibilities or with the things that I want to accomplish. I'm not sure if I'm ready as a veterinarian. I'm not sure if I have, you know, just lots of the worries that you might have as a practice owner. It sounds like kind of the best of both worlds, to be part of a group practice, but still have your own thing.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, you know, it's self-serving to kind of, you know, keep emphasizing that. But, you know, that was kind of the idea when we came up with the model. I mean, you know, I started out, you know, quite young with my, you know, with the first practice that we owned, and it's very stressful. And, you know, you do make a lot of mistakes, most of them staffing wise, but a lot of things that are easily learned. And, you know, with 2 other practices, we've started straight from scratch. So I know what that's like too. And it's very challenging, and it's hell. And you know, we were fortunate, my wife and I, when we did that we didn't have kids to do it. I don't think we could have done it. The only way we're able to pull those through was, you know, working, you know, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 2 years to get those practices off the ground. And now they've grown. So we're fortunate that we did that quickly. And I started that early because that's, you know, kind of one of my main goals with that. But we said to ourselves, you know, the way the landscape is right now, to get into practice ownership, you either need to start one on your own, which if somebody wants to do that, I'd strongly encourage. I mean, it's very, very rewarding to do that. But you've got to have a realistic expectation of the amount of hours you want to work. If you want to have, you know, a brand new practice and, you know, support staff, you know, 3 or 4, I mean, it's unrealistic. And, you know, you're going to be working 5 days a week or 6 days a week to get that sucker going. And so the work-life balance is not going to be there if you want to be successful quickly. It's just, I mean, and that's just my opinion, but it's not. And so we said, what's the problem with this is that, how do you get into this in a way that you can still maintain that? I mean, I'm a parent, you know, between my wife and I, having young kids, we get it. And we wanted to have, again, a platform and opportunity for people that are, you know, whether it's more, you know, personal life, not just for parents, obviously, but you want to have balanced personal priorities or balanced family. How do you take that next step in your career without saying, you know, either you're at a practice, if you're at a multi-vet practice right now with the potential to buy in, and it's a successful practice, your boss is currently entertaining multiple offers from larger corporations, which are trying to consolidate. And they normally will offer, you know, far higher multiples of the net income that practice generates than you can afford, or I shouldn't say you can afford unless you're independently wealthy, then the bank would be willing to let you. So it's hard to compete on that. And so the only way you can jump into those multi-vet practices, which might be more ideal, from a work-life balance, is if you've got someone who's willing to forego maybe a higher payday at the end to maintain their, their ethics and morals and keep the practice small, which, unfortunately often isn't the case. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, those people that own those practices deserve to have that ability to cash in on what they've built their whole life. The other option, we talked about building from scratch, is also very challenging on its own. In this model, you jump into a practice that, has a lot of established clients. It is, not reaching its full potential because it needs someone that jumps in, that wants to have ownership. You've got a partner. Ideally, what we're looking for, I mean, just in terms of when we talk about work-life balance, I mean, I'm really big on, anything I think can be set in terms of goals. So if we want to work 3 days a week, which right now I think is what we're looking for in a partner, 3 days a week with the occasional weekend, and having another associate veterinarian there that also wants to partner. I mean, we're giving up a little bit of potentially financial gain to have that ability to, add a little bit to your own life and to be able to do those things. So working part-time, and you can still share that with somebody else and have a big business kind of coach behind you. I don't mean to say with too big a head, but a lot of experience, and grow things together. You can have your cake and eat it too. If you don't like cake, I mean, that's okay. But really, like, who doesn't?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the model. And then, the other thing we thought about with that is, how do we drop the financial barrier? And so one of the things that we've considered, and there's a lot of different ways to buy in, but one of the ways that we're currently exploring, and with this practice as well, is, whatever percentage we decide is the buy-in percentage, to use the profits of the practice as they're realized over, a certain period of time to finance that buy-in. So it's a very low risk, high reward endeavor to get in. And, it's an opportunity to jump in there without, having to do a lot of financing, take a lot of risk, and, being transparent, of course. So why would we do that, as a practice management group? And the answer is quite simple. Practices that have, people that are involved that have a ownership stake, and this is not to knock anyone that's an associate veterinarian, but I think there's a little bit more growth and there's a little more personality, and the practices function a little bit different when there's somebody there that's involved. And I think the difference we see with that, and have seen in other practices where we have, people where we've partnered with people, outweighs what we might give away from an initial profit on a buy-in. So we're willing to do that for the right person, obviously, to be able to facilitate that partnership starting.
Right. Oh, I like that. Now, Aron, I was thinking back to our vet school days, and Aron and I were friends in vet school as well. And I remember
water.
What's that?
This was
So yeah, I was thinking actually back to our days when I don't know if you remember doing this, but do you remember putting together like mentorship sessions where we would go through like all the tests and go through like, we'd look at x-rays with the lower class guys and stuff. And it struck me that this is probably exactly the right model for you as a person. So can you tell me a bit about your mentorship program and like what that actually looks like?
Sure. So, I mean, I think, with mentorship, it kind of depends on the individual and what they need, right? So for some people, like we have some veterinarians that are, just a year out of school and 2 years out of school. And so that involves, weekly, topics and rounds where we're actually dealing more with medical things first. And well, for people earlier in their career, they want to focus on being a better vet. So we focus on, set times that we have touch points where we're going over things like that. The work-life balance is, I'm a big hypocrite because, I think for me, I don't have the balance because I'm always on call. And so having the phone on me is probably the biggest thing for mentorship. And so I'm always reachable for, phone consults, and do that a lot. So again, I'm kind of a glutton for punishment when it comes to that. But, regular topics and chatting about what our goals are in terms of, medicine is a lot for people that are less developed that way. And I think the biggest thing is we want to have measurable outcomes when it comes to any sort of program. So if we're talking about doing dentals, and getting better at it, we want to have, courses, sessions where we actually, like I might help them with doing that. And then, actually looking at how many dentistries are we doing? If we're doing them, how fast are we doing? How comfortable are we? and, identifying areas of growth so we can keep doing them that way, but also looking at areas where there's improvement needed and working on those. But for the most part, people that are looking for the partnership and ownership, they've kind of got the medicine down enough. I mean, we're always available for that, but the mentorship, the business wise, starts out with basically coming on board and just getting a sense of basic finances. I mean, looking at things like budgeting. Everyone always looks at what your clinic revenue is, but doesn't realize, how that translates into net, or, getting senses of how what you do directly affects what you make, and how what you make affects the quality of medicine you practice. And what goes towards, overhead expenses, what goes towards buying new equipment. And so for a lot of people, I think the first couple months is just going through that financial literacy that a lot of us don't have, looking at balance sheets and looking at projections, which are a big part of things. So it's kind of fun to say, what's our goals? Like, we always start off, what's our 5-year goals? And then, sky's the limit. We try to get that realistic. And then we back them down to 3-year goals, 1-year goals, 12-month goals, and then even daily goals. And so we have to look at what are those targets and how that translates into, what we want to do. When I say targets, it's not just revenue targets. It might be that we want to, help so many pets per day for vaccine appointments, and so many pets with spays and ears. So whatever that our targets are, often revenue comes into that, but we want to break that down and plan out and budget for it. And so we can be accountable on a daily basis, so that people can start to understand, if I want to get here in 5 years, I need to do this on a daily basis. And it's small steps, right?
Building habits and working on things slowly. I love that. That's excellent, Aron. Now, do you want to talk a little bit about the actual opportunity that you have at Dixie Road right now? Because I think I think people were quite interested, and I got quite a few direct messages about it.
So, I mean, right now, Dixie Road Pet Clinic is, there's been a veterinary hospital at that location. It's in Brampton on Dixie Road. And there's been a hospital there, I think, since the 1980s. There's been, a couple iterations of that. And we purchased the hospital in 2016 and have grown it, quite a bit since then, more than 50% doubled since we first took over. And so right now we have a veterinarian that is on a part-time schedule, 2 days a week to 3 days a week. And we're looking for another veterinarian that wants to come in. It could be as an associate, but ideally somebody that's an associate that certainly would want to develop within the first year and a half, an ownership stake in the practice. And it depends on their comfort level of what they want to do. But we really would want to foster that versus, I'm not stringing a carrot out here saying, hey, maybe that's an opportunity. Like, this would be the expectation to come on board. So coming in, working, 3 days a week with, the occasional weekends, it might be 2 weekends, a month or something like that. Hours, it's really dependent, and, there's so much flexibility. Like, if we want to work, a 6-hour day, that's a possibility, but we also have to make that jive with our goal setting. So, I think we can work 9 to 5, or you can work 8 to 6, or you can work 10 till 5. You just have to look at the realities of, how many appointments do we have to see an hour? What do we have to do in terms of procedures and things like that? So, it's a full-time position. Again, looking for someone with ownership stake. Experience I think is necessary with this, because there's not a lot of backup. It's not impossible for a brand new grad to come out and jump into this position, but mentorship would be more remote in this sort of thing, which I can do a lot. But I think, I don't think it's ideal for, the person coming right out of vet school, because we want to set somebody up for success. And there's times where you just need somebody there that can show you physically. I think it's somebody who's got a year experience or more. It's a perfect opportunity for them. And again, that wants to be involved. The type of person we're looking for, because this is a good opportunity. We expect a lot of interest in this. Really looking for a good team player, not a lot of egos. Somebody who's really open-minded, likes to share. We do a lot of things very differently. I'm big on innovating different ideas for staff, and we don't want to run our vet clinic just like any other vet clinic. I may be a little ADD. We constantly try to change things and innovate things, whether it's phone systems or staff incentive programs or changing our wellness plans. We're kind of always trying to be, cutting edge. So we're looking for somebody that can help with that, and as a team partner together to make us better. You know, I realized a long time ago, although I feel I can do a lot of stuff myself, sometimes when you put aside that ego, you can actually do a lot more with other people, and it's fun, and it's there's a lot of camaraderie, and it's kind of cool to do it as a group. So that's the type of person we're looking for. Someone who's pretty, I mean, energetic. I haven't had any coffees, and it's been a long day. I've seen appointments all day, and literally I came home, my kid's like, daddy. And I still get passionate about this. So we're looking for somebody that kind of shares that passion and that wants to work with people that are very understanding. We've got a lot of patience as well. And trying to learn and teach. And really what we're looking for at the end of the day is to have grown a great clinic together and have done something, made some sort of impact on that. So,
right. That sounds great.
Yeah.
So Aron, I guess one thing I always ask is, if you know, what gets you really, really excited about veterinary medicine, and what trends are you looking at right now?
Yeah. I mean, I think what gets me excited is, you know, we have an opportunity from a business. Like, I love helping animals, and, you know, I really get a high every day from helping people and, you know, improving that human animal bond. And I don't want to blase over that, because I think that's very important, but I think that should be every veterinarian's goal. I love that. I mean, there's nothing better than helping a pet and knowing how much it means to their family. Mm-hmm. But I think bigger picture than that, from a business perspective, what really gets me excited is we have this platform for potentially unlimited growth. I mean, that's how I think about it, in that we can take people that want to partner with us. And I don't mean just veterinarians, I mean our team members. And our goal is to continually grow our organization and platform so that the people that start with us at a very low level, and I shouldn't say low, but like an entry level, they can grow their careers and continually grow. I mean, that's our goal, is for everyone who starts, you know, even starting as a kennel assistant could somehow jump into a practice manager if we grow our organization big enough. And the impact that can have on people's lives and their families is fantastic. And I think a bigger part of that is the community itself. We want to build into our model in a way that we can give back to the community and people around us. So that's what excites me about it. In terms of where I see industry trending, I mean, I said it before, there's a lot of consolidation. And again, it's somewhat hypocritical because this is somewhat of a consolidation effort. But the purpose of us consolidating is so we can have that benefit of, you know, having individual unique practices, but almost as a cooperative model. What I see is a lot more consolidation of high value practices by corporations, and nothing against them, but that are consolidating these practices and purchasing practices to gain access to a revenue stream that's fairly stable. And their model is to be able to grow through acquisition right now. So they continually acquire practices. It's a lot easier and faster than trying to grow them, which is a lot more difficult. And so I think that's, to be honest, I don't like that. I think, you know, the best thing for patients and their pet owners is if veterinarians are continually trying to improve their practice and grow from within. And I see inevitably as larger corporations take over, until the market's completely saturated, their model for growth will not be to improve the business and the veterinary medicine we deliver. It's simply to capture newer practices because it's faster and easier to grow. And I guess this is somewhat of a rallying cry against that, to be stronger, to be able to not just compete against them, but to have an alternative option for pet owners that still want to harken back to the days where, you know, the person they know owns a practice and cares, and it's not, numbers aren't, you know, going to some place in New York and big decisions being made. And there's nothing wrong with that from an efficiency perspective. And probably, you know, we might not be as efficient or as profitable because we give people little breaks, and we want our owners that are there to be able to make those decisions. But I kind of like that old school mentality. And yeah, you might not make as much money doing it, but I want that to survive. And I guess that's the goal and the vision for this long term, is to have a platform where that can happen and continue to grow, and maybe, just maybe, be able to challenge, you know, what is ultimately I don't want to say a faceless kind of corporation world, but, you know, what's happened in so many other industries. I mean, if you look at ophthalmology and, you know, dentistry, and I mean, things like even funeral homes. I mean, I didn't realize this initially, but they're all corporate owned, and that's, you know, it's less of a personal touch.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah. I especially like that you're trying to find a way for younger people to buy in, or people who want to buy in, but still want, you know, you're trying to make it accessible for people who want a quality of life and who may have lots of things going on in their life, but still want to
Yeah.
have ownership and still feel that they can excel doing that.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think it's hard. I mean, it's hard for me to relate because I'm in a different spot, but I've talked to so many friends and they say, we practice, we're in a good quality practice, we're there, we've got our family, we've kind of hit not our ceiling personally, because I think there's so much personal within your family life and everything else. Work is work, but career wise, how do I make that next step without upending or putting at risk everything I've got right now? And so a lot of people are just sit there and they're happy with it, because there's not really another opportunity. And this is one of those opportunities if this resonates with you, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to develop.
Awesome. So Aron, we're going to put your email address into the Facebook Live part of this, and then it's on our website as well under opportunities. So the job ad, and they can get in touch with you. Do you want to just give your email and any other information you want to share?
Sure. I mean, the best thing is to check the link, because I'll tell you it, but you'll spell it wrong. Everyone does. So it's my name, Aron, AronBhan @gmail.com. So pretty simple. If you just send me an email, I think the best thing to do is have an informal, conversation, at just a casual conversation, and just chat about this. If this is something right for you, we are going to be fairly particular, because I think the best partnerships come from the best partners, and we're really looking for a better partner. When we're looking at this, it's got to be the right fit. So if you want to include a resume, that's fine. Even if it's just a brief synopsis of what you've done. And I think what your vision is and how that might, if you've watched this video, how that might resonate with ours is more important, because I think that's that synergy we're looking for that can really take us to the next level. And what I'm excited about.
Perfect.
Talk to anybody and probably talk too much. You haven't talked at all, Mel. So this is like the Aron
I'm
show
interviewing you, so that's fine.
I apologize. But I mean, sometimes just having good conversations and meeting with people is an interesting way to open up your mind. I like to do it because I often learn stuff from others. But sometimes it's a connection that you don't necessarily spark up right now, but down the road that comes out. So if you want to chat with me, never hurts.
Yeah, sounds great. Because it sounds like you guys will be probably expanding, and so even if this like, let's say that you're not located in Brampton or couldn't move there, but you're interested in opportunities, potentially they could get in touch.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's limited. That's not limited us, but we're more cautious in areas where there might be opportunities with practices for sale. If we don't have somebody that's that's a partner in that, that's something that we don't want to pursue as aggressively. But if we had something like that, then those opportunities can be pursued a little bit more aggressively.
Cool. So Aron, is there anything else you want to share with the group, or anything on the video that we didn't cover?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I just think this is a really cool opportunity, and I think we wanted to share it with the group because we're looking for people that are outside the box thinkers, that are kind of looking for something different, challenging, and want to take that next step with their career. And we want to help them, and in a very reciprocal relationship. That's what we're looking for, and that's why we decided to. I mean, you've got a great following, and I think the DVM Project kind of attracts that sort of those sorts of thinkers, and which is great. I think it's always important to be expanding your eyes and rethinking, what you want to do with your career, and taking charge of life versus letting the waves kind of smash you around. And so that's why we're here.
Yeah, I like that. And even if you're listening and you're not necessarily interested in a career in Brampton, I think what Aron has shared is really great advice, because if you don't see what you like in the profession, then build it. If you don't see the opportunity that you want for yourself, then find it or build it, because there are people out there that are doing cool things and doing interesting and different things that, don't say that there aren't any opportunities available, because they're, potentially maybe not exactly in your area, but you could certainly look at building it or innovating it or changing where you're at, which I think is very, very cool.
Yeah. And I think partnerships are far underrated. As veterinarians, we tend to be introverts, but I think, I've made the biggest kind of leaps forward in my career when I've accepted partnerships and done that sort of stuff, far more than I ever could myself. And although there's always challenges with that, you're stronger as a unit and as a group. And that's why we want to do this.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much for coming.